for showing your support here today. We will officially start today's program with the presentation of colors delivered by Hollins High School, JROTC. I ask that our guests please remain seated so that those seated in the back can see. Present the colors.
Okay, well, if you find something, I will read it to you.
Thank you. And now, to continue with our opening. Mr. Dave Miller, U.S. Marine Corps veteran and National American Legion Hospital representative, will lead us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Then, we will turn it over to U.S. Army veteran and member of our VA Police Service, Lieutenant Nicholas Eggvet, for a performance of the National Anthem. If you are able, please stand for this portion of our ceremony.
Before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, I want to take a second. Back in 1990, we had a dedication here, and Congressman Bill Young and his World War II vet Charlie Allen, we had a thing called a prayer to the pledge. And I'd like to recite this today before the pledge in memory of Bill Young, our congressman, and Charlie Allen, World War II veteran. Now it's my privilege and high honor to direct your attention to this beautiful flag of our beloved country. It is and should always be displayed in the proper place and condition where it is accorded the position of highest honor and is a constant inspiration to every loyal citizen. It demands unswerving loyalty and wholehearted devotion to the principles of which its glorious representation. It is a majestic emblem of freedom under the constitutional government. Beneath its protective folds, liberty, equality, and fraternity have become the heritage of every citizen, while the oppressed of many nations have found peace, happiness in our land over which it floats. Each time I see Old Glory wave against a clear blue sky, I know the deepest reason that our flag will always fly. And so I set about to write it, just how it made me feel, to see the banner fluttering, our guardian so real. I will not say as others did, for which each color stands. I only state this grand old flag in nation grants commands, and that each mother's son of us would more than gladly give our blood and yes, our very life, so it can wave and live. The flags of many empires have come and gone, but the stars and stripes remain forever. Alone of all the flags, it has a sanctity and revelation. He who lives under it is loyal to it, loyal to truth and justice everywhere. For as long as it flies on land, sea, or air, government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from this earth. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Reset, arm. Order, arm. Right, face. Forward, march. March down, march. Colors, halt. Left, face. Right, face. Forward, march.
Thank you. I will now ask Chaplain Alpha Sannon to lead us in the invocation. Please stand if able.
Let us pray. Spirit of the living God, bountiful in love, grace, and mercy, we come before you this day in remembrance of the servicemen and women who have sacrificed so much and who have died in this VA Medical Center. Today, we join with people across this great nation, lifting our hearts and minds to you with profound gratitude for our veterans who have given selflessly to uphold the freedom and values we hold dear as Americans. We thank you for the gift of their lives, for the love, friendship, and dedication they brought to their families, their friends, and all who had honored to serve alongside them. Grant them, we pray, your endless mercy and the everlasting light of your presence. Surround them with your peace and let their legacy inspire us all. In your infinite compassion, comfort those who mourn and grant us the faith and courage to walk the path they have set before us. Strengthen us, O God, with an enduring spirit to continue the good work set before us. You remind us in your word that the testing of our faith produces perseverance. Grant us the grace to remain unwavering in faith, honoring you and our veterans, and the ideals of justice and freedom that we, as a nation, seek to uphold. In your holy name we pray, amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. I would now like to introduce our speakers seated on the platform who have not yet been introduced. To my right, Ms. Christine Brown, Interim Director, Bay Pines VA Healthcare System. Ms. Juliana Bour, Director, St. Petersburg VA Regional Office. Mr. Roberto Pizaro, Acting Director, Bay Pines National Cemetery. To my left, Representative Ana Paulina Luna, who represents Florida's 13th Congressional District. Retired U.S. Army Captain Maxine Reyes, our keynote speaker for today's ceremony. In addition, I would like to thank all our elected officials and their representatives, veteran advocacy groups, family members, caretakers, friends, volunteers, and most importantly, our veterans for being here with us today. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Christine Brown to the podium. Ms. Brown was appointed the Interim Director of the Bay Pines VA Healthcare System in May 2024. With more than 30 years of federal service in the Veterans Administration, she oversees healthcare delivery for the entire organization, which includes the C.W.Y Bill Young Medical Center, 8 outpatient clinics, and more than 4,700 employees.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is certainly my honor and privilege to be with you today as we honor our nation's heroes. Allow me to extend a very warm welcome to all of our distinguished guests, ceremony participants, veteran service organizations, elected officials and their representatives, our Gold Star mothers and families, and the families, caregivers, and survivors of those who we celebrate today. Most importantly, let me give you a warm welcome to all of our veterans in attendance. We love you at Bay Pines. This is your day, and I am honored to be here and spend it with you. So the origins of Veterans Day, which was originally known as Armistice Day, date back to World War I. Many who lived through this conflict regarded it as the war to end all wars. So when Allied nations and Germany reached an agreement to halt hostilities on November 11, 1918 at 11 a.m., many rejoiced because this signified the end of an unprecedented period of destruction and death. Very quickly, this day grew to signify not only the end of a war that changed lives across the globe, but also it became a day to recognize and honor all those who fought valiantly to bring the conflict to a close. Veterans Day became a national holiday in 1938, and since then, Americans have gathered to remember our heroes and recognize their service and sacrifice to this great nation of ours. A century ago, in our Declaration of Independence, the founders avowed, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." For 2.5 centuries now, veterans have guaranteed those unalienable rights to all of us. Over the course of American history, more than 500,000 ordinary, everyday Americans have served our nation in extraordinary ways. These brave men and women have stood for principles, ideals, and values far greater than the discomfort of any hardship they endured. From the Minutemen of the American Revolution to those veterans who recently fought in the streets of Baghdad and the mountains of Afghanistan, each soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, and Coast Guardsman is a tangible symbol of what we the people value and honor. To speak without fear, to vote as we see fit, and to gather independently of free will as we do so today. Veterans Day is not just a day to celebrate our heroes, it's also a call to action. It's a stern reminder that it is our sacred duty as Americans to serve those who have served our country and protected our way of life. For the burdens they have borne, we owe them a debt of gratitude. Here at Bay Pines VA, each year we proudly serve more than 115,000 veterans who live, work, and contribute to the betterment of our communities. We offer our veterans a wide range of services to include mental health, primary care, specialty services, women's health, comprehensive suicide prevention, hospice care, rehabilitation counseling, and so much more. Our dedication to the men and women who have served does not end there. We understand that without their most important unit of support, their families and their loved ones, many of our veterans would truly be lost. Because of this, VA offers care in a variety of ways to those family members, the caregivers, and the survivors of our nation's heroes. When someone enlists in the military and proudly serves our country, this nation makes them a very simple but a very sacred promise. You take care of us and we'll take care of you. At VA, keeping that promise means delivering timely access to the world-class health care that we deliver every day here at Bay Pines, ensuring the benefits that veterans have earned and so rightly deserve, and providing them with a lasting resting place that is a tribute to their service. At VA, this is our sacred promise to our nation's heroes. By being present and participating in this ceremony and other commemorations like it, and through our advocacy for veterans every day of the year, Bay Pines VA reinforces the bond between the United States and those who have devoted their lives to safeguarding the freedoms that we hold so dear. We know that it is the selfless service of our veterans and those currently serving in uniform that bind us to our country's noble past, that inspire us to meet whatever challenges may come our way, and enable our great country to remain a beacon of hope and freedom around the world. Thank you for taking the time to honor the service, sacrifices, and selflessness of our nation's veterans. I wish each of you a blessed and joy-filled Veterans Day celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Now please join me in welcoming Ms. Juliana Bour. Ms. Bour was appointed Director of the St. Petersburg Regional Office in July 2016. In this role, Ms. Bour provides executive direction to more than 930 employees and is responsible for serving approximately 1.8 million veterans and their families living in the state of Florida with VA's compendium of non-medical benefits.
Good morning. That's pretty good. You want to try it again? Good morning. Good morning. Much better. Good morning. It feels like we're gathering as friends today. Every time I do this ceremony, I don't know if that's how you feel, but every time I come, that's how I feel. And it's a beautiful day, and we had some trees that actually survived the storm, so I'm grateful for that, and some of you got some shade. But it's a beautiful day to come together as a community and as a grateful nation to pay honor and pay tribute to our nation's heroes, our veterans. It's my great pleasure to be with you this morning to celebrate Veterans Day, and thank you to Ms. Brown for always including us in the ceremony. It's one of the highlights of my year. And it's well known for all of us at VA that every day is Veterans Day, so this day we love so much because we get to share our mission and our passion with all of you today. So one of our favorite parts of being with VA is Veterans Day, and today we pay tribute and remember the sacrifices made by brave men and women who served our great nation in uniform. We all know the price of freedom is high, and we can never afford to forget those willing to pay it. So today, it's our privilege to come together as a grateful nation to say thank you. Thank you for your love of country. Thank you for your willingness to sacrifice. Thank you for putting yourself in harm's way to protect our freedoms. From the battlefields of Lexington and Concord to the trenches of World War I, from the shores of Normandy to the scorching deserts of Iraq and Afghanistan, American veterans have answered the call to duty. They have left behind the comfort of their homes, the embraces of loved ones, to stand at the front lines of freedom. Their valor, their unwavering commitment has shaped the course of history and secured the liberties we all hold so dear. We honor the veterans of the past generations, those who fought and died in defense of democracy. We remember the doughboys of World War I, the greatest generation who vanquished the Nazis in Imperial Japan, the brave souls who stood against the tide of communism in Korea and in Vietnam. Their sacrifice, their ultimate devotion have preserved for us this precious gift, the United States of America. Yet Veterans Day is not only about reflecting on the past, it's also a day to acknowledge, to support the veterans now among us, the men and women who've returned from Iraq and Afghanistan bearing the physical and emotional scars of war. We must recognize their struggles, extend a hand of gratitude and fellowship, and ensure that they receive the care and respect that they have so rightly earned. This nation owes a great debt to all of our veterans, whose service this nation spans every decade, every year, every day of our country's existence, and the sacrifice in the name of peace and freedom have made this nation what it is today. And we must ensure that their sacrifice is never in vain. By your presence here today and our continued act of appreciations, we honor the debt that is owed. So as we mark this Veterans Day, let us recommit ourselves to upholding the ideals for which our veterans have fought. Let us strive to be a people worthy of their sacrifice, a people of strength and resilience, of unwavering devotion to freedom. Let us continue to build a nation where veterans are cherished, where their service is never forgotten, and where the promises made to them are promises kept. As President Kennedy once said, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. I know I speak for all of us at the regional office when I say that we remain committed to our mission of serving our nation's veterans from every conflict and every generation. We expect the best for those who gave their best, and you deserve nothing less from us. And I always like to close with words by those who said it best, and today I'd like to close with the words of George Washington, who said, "The willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how justified, shall be directly proportional to how they perceive veterans of earlier wars were treated and appreciated." So to every veteran, past and present, we offer our deepest thanks. Your service has safeguarded our freedoms, has protected our way of life, and we are forever in your debt. And I would be remiss if I did not also express our thanks to all the family members who waited and worried, who stood by their side, and continue to lift their countenance and spirit. To these family members, we also say a profound thank you. So thank you all for joining us this morning. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be a part of today's ceremony. May God bless you all, and may God bless this great nation and those who defend her. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bour. Before we continue hearing from those who are present to honor our nation's heroes, we would be remiss if we did not acknowledge the sacrifice of the Gold Star families who are with us today. If you are a family member of a veteran who is no longer with us, you deserve our utmost gratitude as well. Our nation's loss of anyone dear to you is a much deeper loss to you, and we are eternally grateful for their sacrifice and yours. Please join me in a round of applause for the loved ones of these American patriots who made the ultimate sacrifice. Now, please join me in welcoming Mr. Roberto Pizaro to the podium. Mr. Pizaro was named Acting Director of Bay Pines National Cemetery in March 2024. He is responsible for all burial maintenance and administrative operations at the facility. Prior to this assignment, he served as the Assistant Director of the Bushnell National Cemetery. Mr. Pizaro is a veteran of the U.S. Army who began his career with VA in 2012 as a cemetery representative at the Puerto Rico National Cemetery.
Good morning, everybody. So first of all, I am extremely grateful for the opportunity to be here. I'm going to take my glasses out because I do not have much to read. So you're going to get a full dose of just me, just letting you know. Those that know me know that's kind of how I operate. It's from the heart. So I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to be here. So thank you for always putting this together. This is a prime example of how the military operates. You got VHA, VBA, and NCA, all different missions getting together to honor those who serve. In my time in the military, in both of my deployments, there's two topics that always came. One was selflessness. That is ingrained in us from the time that we go to boot camp, from the time that we signed that contract, for the time that we are rebuilt and redone. As veterans, we always put everybody else first. There is somebody in need, regardless of skin color, language, political views, anything. None of that matters. What matters is that there is a need and we have the capability to suffice it. So keep that. That did not stay in the service. That's something that we carry with us. On the same topic, please take care of yourself. This Veterans Day, I ask you and I plead to you, take care of yourself. I use the services that these agencies provide. I know there can be a lot of things that can be said, but when you walk through that doors, it doesn't matter if the employee has been a veteran or not, you receive the utmost respect and the utmost love. And a lot of times that's all that it takes. There are internal battles that we may have. The reason for why we signed up, it's irrelevant. It could be like in my case, a 17-year-old in 2003 that had already made his mind and just decided to go. It could be to go to college. It could be that you were drafted. For all those that were drafted, my hat off to you, because I had a choice. I raised my hand. You did not. So thank you. Thank you to all those that came before me that allowed me that when I return home, I was celebrated. Thank you. Veterans Day is not only about what has happened, it's what comes after. As Ms. Bour was reading, we take care, you took care of us, we will take care of you. I can guarantee you that that's what the VA is about. But we also need to take care of each other. As we go through life, it is extremely important as veterans that we look out for each other and we look out for those that we love. To the families of veterans, thank you. Those friends, families, spouses, loved ones, just honestly thank you. When we come back, a piece of us may not be there, and you fill that gap. So thank you. Because of you, we can do what we need to do. Because of you, you give us a reasons to sacrifice. And that's the second topic that I want to talk about, is sacrifice. Sacrifice is not only about going overseas. Sacrifice is also all the birthdays that we miss, all the anniversaries, the special occasions. There are many things that we sacrifice because of that first word that I spoke about, selflessness, which means that we will put them all first before ourselves. Our needs comes last, and that is part of being a veteran. And we as veterans, we need to inculcate that in the next generations so it can never be forgotten. There is a saying, and I'm just gonna take the last portion of it. If you eat at peace, thank a veteran. I'm gonna say it again. If you eat at peace, thank a veteran. In NCA, we live as a motto, which is Lincoln's promise, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and his widow and his orphan. That is not only in the national cemeteries. That is from the time that we enlist and we decide. It doesn't matter if we enlisted through peacetime, if we enlisted through war, if we were deployed, if we were not deployed. Yes, we make fun of each other. It comes with the culture. It is normal, and we love it and we enjoy it. But we are a unity. We have a bond that nothing can break. It doesn't matter what generation you come from. There's a bond within us that ties us together, and it's the love for country. And that is what we always have to remember. This is just not another ceremony. This is not just another day. This is one day out of many that we take it to recognize and to come together in that unit in one place as we're gathering here to do exactly what we're doing today, to remember, to tell our stories. Because although one day we will pass away, right now I use the services of all the other portions of the VA, but one day I will use the services of my own agency in NCA. So I always look to that. What am I doing now that is going to impact the next generations? As veterans, we have no doubt we put our grain. We sacrifice, we love, we have blood, sweat, and tears. We fought many battles that nobody sees, that nobody knows. And that's just the truth. Please take care of yourself. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking a holiday that a lot of people could be doing anything else, and you chose to be here. You chose to honor. You chose to remember. The small things have the greatest impact. You do not have to change the world. You start with self and impact one life, and that life impacts another one. And as veterans, we know that. We know how one action just creates an amazing chain reaction that takes us from our generation to those behind. And the reason is because I'm part of that chain, and I was impacted by those who came before me. So those who sacrificed so much so I could be free, because freedom requires limits. Freedom requires sacrifice. And freedom requires somebody to stand in the gap and protect it. And as veterans, for that, I thank you. And to the families again, I thank you so much, because if it wasn't for your support, we will never be able to make it. I guarantee you that. That is my experience. That's how I lived. If it wasn't for my family, who knows? Because a part of us has to go numb in order to do what we need to. Some of us may see or may not see stuff, and we'll carry that for the rest of our lives. But everything that we learn, everything that we've seen, everything that we fought for here or overseas is for the betterment of this country as a whole. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you. God bless you all. God bless this country. My glasses.
Thank you, Mr. Pizaro. We will now hear from Representative Ana Paulina Luna, who represents Florida's 13th Congressional District. Congresswoman Luna is a veteran of the U.S. Air Force and was elected to Congress in 2022. Congresswoman Luna's constituents reside in St. Petersburg, Largo, Clearwater, and Palm Harbor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. For those of you who may not know me, I am Florida's 13th Congressional District Representative. I'm also a United States Air Force veteran, and I just want to start out by saying Happy Veterans Day to every single one of you. I served 6 years in the United States Air Force, and looking back at it, although it seems like a lifetime ago, that was truly a defining moment in my life. At 19, I was standing on those yellow feet at Lackland Air Force Base, and briefly, I didn't know if it was the best decision because I had a drill instructor yelling in my face, but it turned out to be truly the most best decision I could have made at that point in time. It's where I met my husband, Andy, who many of you know, who's a Bronze Star and Purple Heart recipient, who today, I'd just like to share is my 15-year anniversary with him. Thank you. It's where I, as long with so many of my other colleagues, was able to pay my way through school. It's where I spent holidays, as I'm sure many of you did, with my NCOs at the Chow Hall and fellow airmen. But it's also where I lost our friends in combat. It's where I was given the structure that I needed to truly become an adult. And although 6 years may have been a long time ago, it was still the opportunity of a lifetime. You see, in Washington, D.C., there's not a lot of members that have actually served. And the military taught me many things that I've been able to bring with me, the first one being patriotism, the cost and sense of pride that we have serving one of the greatest countries in the world, but also ensuring that when we are making decisions that we are not putting people in harm's way that are unnecessarily there. It's extreme ownership. If you make a mistake, own it. I'll never have my constituents or my my staffers do things that I wouldn't myself do myself. Leadership, knowing that whether or not you are a good or a bad leader, that you have to ultimately accept responsibility. You see, when I'm on the floor and I'm talking to other colleagues and we're debating some of the legislation, I'm not just advocating as another checked box. It's not just a service or a branch. To me, it's my family. See, I grew up in a situation that wasn't necessarily the best, and the military truly became my family. What I will tell you is that I will continue to serve every single one of you, and I will uphold all of my promises to you, because to me, it's not just a job. My final thought is, only in America can you have a young E4 in the Marines make it from the Marine Corps all the way to the halls of the White House. That is because we truly serve in the greatest country in the world. And with that being said, I'd just like to say, regardless of party affiliation, it's pretty dang cool that J.D. Vance is our next vice president. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Congresswoman Luna. Next, please welcome our keynote speaker, retired U.S. Army Captain Maxine Reyes. Mrs. Reyes enlisted in the U.S. Air Force in 1996 and served proudly for 11 years before commissioning as an officer in the U.S. Army. After a culmination of 22 years of honorable service, Mrs. Reyes made the decision to hang up her fatigues. After retirement, she's gone on to build a career advocating for veterans and dual military families. Mrs. Reyes dedicated much of her life to serving her nation, and she is proud to continue that service through her efforts as a philanthropist and mentor.
Good morning. I hope it's still morning. Well, I know you guys have been here for a little bit, so I'm going to do a quick roll call. Are you ready? Okay, so I'm a singer, and I wrote this little icebreaker a while ago, so I'm going to need some participation. I'm going to say what your branch of service is, and then you're going to call out the name of your branch of service, okay? So, for example, this is from my soldiers, which branch is that? All right, there you go, but you gotta be loud when you say it, okay? You gotta be proud. All right, so here we go. This is for my soldiers, to all my fly girls and boys. This is for the simplified sailors and coasties and spaceys. Keep on giving. All right, well done, thank you. You are present, It is my honor to be invited to share my story with you today. Lord knows I've come a long way, from the shy girl who was more fearful than anything to speak in public. The military has a way to remove us from our comfort zone and place us in positions where we have no choice but to push through fear. And for that, I am grateful. So over here, some of you may be familiar with it. This is what I call a Dutch pot, okay? This symbolizes unity, good times, family, creativity, discipline, and service. My story started in the countryside village of Marley Hill, Manchester, on the beautiful and globally recognized Caribbean island of Jamaica, the land of my birth, where our resilience lies in our faith and positive attitude. And to us, everything is Irie, even when it's not. So if someone suspects that you're not okay, they may ask, "You all right?" And you would respond, "Everything Irie, everything Irie." So let's do this real quick. I'm gonna ask you if you're all right, and you're gonna respond loudly, "Everything Irie." You ready? You all right?
Everything Irie.
You understood the assignment. Big up yourself. In my little village, most of the children walk barefoot to school. And whenever we wanted a snack, there's usually a fruit tree in season for us to choose from. But I challenge my running speed every day by waiting until after the 2-minute warning for the bell to ring before I grab my book bag and dash across the street like the track star that I was. And I made it right on time, except this one day, which changed my whole life. My daily chores before school included taking our goats to graze on fresh grass, then return and make breakfast, which usually consists of an egg from the chicken we raised, mint tea from our garden, or porridge, cornmeal or oatmeal. This one morning, I made cornmeal porridge, which takes a little bit longer to make, but I was ambitious with the hopes that I would finish cooking in time to cool it off and eat a small bowl before running to school. But by the time the porridge was done, I only had 2 minutes for it to cool off before the warning bell. I started stirring and blowing it to cool off, and before I could even put a spoon in my mouth, the warning bell rang. My tummy growled, as if it was saying, "Don't you dare walk away from this food." So I ate a few spoons, and I could even satisfy my hunger. But then the second bell rang. Guys, my heart dropped. Is there anyone here from the Caribbean? Okay, I see a few hands, because you know that if your principal had a government-issue belt, you know what was next, right? And that was my worst nightmare, which was about to come true. I didn't even bother to run. I slowly joined the students that I watched for years in the hallway of shame to wait in line for my spanking. I had no one to blame but myself, so I took it like a champ, and I learned a valuable lesson that day, which prepared me for my future career as a member of the world's greatest military. Time management is important. Music and food played a big role in my upbringing. I lived with my great-grandmother, Ursie Victoria Allen, who I called Nuni. She loved to cook, sing, and dance. Born in 1907, Nuni was in her 70s then. She taught me many life skills. My favorite was cooking, hence the Dutch pot. I was 8 years old when I learned to cook in the Dutch pot, but just not any Dutch pot, Nuni's Dutch pot. Imagine being sous chef to the greatest chef ever. That was me. Right before we started cooking, I would go to our organic garden, grab some veggies, spices, and herbs. And I know I said I'm from Jamaica, but it's not the herb you're thinking. It's thyme and scallion and Scotch bonnet peppers. Our neighbors would stop by when they smelled the aroma of Nuni's cooking. I can still smell the wood, the smoke from the wood, nestled between 3 rocks, infused with the scents from the different trees used to make the wood fire stove. In addition to the herbs and spices, that's what makes Jamaican cuisine one of the best in the world. The power of the Dutch pot brought everyone together. To our family, like many, food is life, but music brought us to life. Nuni and I made many great memories in the kitchen while she hummed to the melody of her favorite hymn, and I would sing right along. Shackled by a heavy burden, 'neath the load of guilt and shame, then the hands of Jesus touch me, and now I'm no longer the same. He touched me, oh, he touched me, and oh, the joy that floods my soul. Something happened, and now I know he touched me, and Thank you. I wish I was able to spend more time with my Nuni. My guardian, my teacher, my Nuni, passed away at age 82 when I was only 12. And just like that, I experienced my first heartbreak, and my simple life became complicated. All of a sudden, I became a bargaining tool for her children who lived overseas, in England and in the United States. Ultimately, I chose to live with my grandmother, Maudie, my father's mom, in Miami. I am so grateful for her efforts in opening the doors of opportunities for me in the greatest nation of all. Thank you, Grandma. The USA became my new home, and I explored the variety of foods here. I found quite interesting, like grits and biscuits covered in something that looks like, not so attractive, but gravy. It took me a while to adjust, but over time, I grew to love some of them. And the Dutch pot continues to be a part of my life, and now I cook both American and Jamaican foods in it. I attended high school in South Florida and was voted most talented of my senior class for my singing abilities. But instead of following my heart to be an entertainer, after graduation, I decided to play it safe. So I joined the military, the United States Air Force. I lived in the dormitory, used my Dutch pot to cook Jamaican food for friends and coworkers, especially during the long weekends. And a year after joining, I married Airman Ken Reyes, a Puerto Rican American who was also raised off the Dutch pot. He calls it the caldero. He spoke my love language. Inspired by the events of 9/11, we made a commitment to further our education and step into the role of officers, determined to serve our country in a new capacity by embracing greater leadership responsibilities. We both earned our bachelor's degrees, then transferred to the Army as officers. And I know you're wondering why we left the Air Force to go to the Army. I asked myself the same thing then. But the Air Force was downsizing. And he said, you know what, it was good enough for my parents and my big brother, so it's good enough for me. So I tell him, you go first, and then tell me how it is. And that's exactly what happened. He went to the Army, and I followed and went through OCS. So 2 years later, we had a beautiful baby girl who we named Victoria after my great-grandmother. Unfortunately, during my pregnancy, I was able to see some views of a handful of men in the military. And this is me sharing about me being a woman who served. True story. I got pregnant after my husband's 15 months deployment to Afghanistan in 2008. And we had served 12 years already and married for 11. So we felt it was a good time to add to our family. In a nutshell, my company commander told her commander that I was pregnant. And do you want to know what he asked her? He said, is she going to keep the baby? Yeah, the nerve. I was 6 months pregnant when another supervisor in that same unit shared with me that he doesn't think women should join the military. He went on to say his wife wanted to join and he threatened her with divorce because he didn't think women had a place in the military. He had me working in the motor pool with all the fumes that could have possibly harmed my baby. And as a first-time mom, I was very concerned, but he had no empathy. And thank goodness, my baby's health was not affected. Motherhood in the military was challenging for me. While my baby was 5 months old and breastfeeding, I had to leave for Diamond Sabre, which is a 3-week financial management field training exercise, which was in Wisconsin. So I had to pump my breast milk and discard of it. And as a mom, I know many of you can empathize with me that that was not a good feeling. So you can imagine how hard that was. And thank God my husband was home to care for her during that time. Immediately after I returned from Diamond Sabre, my husband deployed on his second tour to Afghanistan. Our daughter was 11 months old during that time, and I was also deployed overseas, so I had to take her to a friend on a family care plan in South Florida. We missed her first birthday and her first steps. I know it's difficult for fathers as well, but especially difficult for mothers. And this reminds me to my fellow women veterans. I want you to know that I understand some of the challenges you've endured. Please be sure to register with the Military Women Museum this month. Your story deserves to be preserved. So see me afterwards for information, okay? My deployments include Haiti after the 2010 earthquake that killed over 200,000, injured 300,000, and displaced over 1 million. I also deployed to Qatar in 2013 to 2014 at the Central Command HQ, and while I was there, I was sent to Afghanistan twice to support 3 Corps, then 18th Airborne Corps. After 12 months, I made it back alive, thank God. I continue to give him the praise. Oh, and guess what? My Dutch pot was still there. Now it was time for me to train up our beautiful daughter of her Caribbean roots so that she could use it to carry on a tradition with her children. Que sigue la tradición. I continue to use my upbringing and my culture to be my best self in this land of opportunity, to make an impact. I am proud to represent Jamaica in America. I'm proud to sing both anthems and live life in love, courage, grace, and gratitude. And as my grandmother would say, don't forget where you come from, and remember who you are. To my fellow veterans, you've exemplified the strength and resilience that fuel our democracy. And today we express our deepest gratitude for your service and sacrifice. I know the speakers have mentioned earlier, and that's why I said we, because we all appreciate you and your service. Recognizing the role veterans play in our communities right now, you are teachers, leaders, volunteers, and mentors. The same courage and discipline you showed in uniform are now woven into the fabric of civilian life, inspiring the next generation. No matter what challenges we face as a nation, your dedication reminds us that unity, service, and respect are timeless values that can guide us through any change or uncertainty. As we look to the future, let us carry forward the lessons of service and selflessness that we have given Americans. Let us strive to create a country worthy of your sacrifice, a nation where freedom and opportunity are open to all citizens. To every veteran here today, and to those who couldn't join us, we thank you and we honor you. And here are 5 things I want you to take away from my story. Embrace your story and share it. Remember the story of my Dutch pot. Use it as inspiration to gather with friends, whether it's for a potluck, karaoke night, or an outing that reflects what you all enjoy. Your story might not be a Dutch pot, but there's something symbolic in your journey. Don't hesitate to share your unique military experiences with others. Number 2, connect. Don't isolate. I've been there. Many veterans I've met and I'll urge them not to withdraw from society. But remember, you're not alone. Build a support system by staying engaged. Check on Eventbrite for local activities and put them on your calendar. Connect with other veterans. And it's a great way to connect with others. Number 3, commit to your health. Staying active and mindful of what you eat is key to a healthy life. If you have family, make wellness a family affair. Find ways to stay fit together, just like my family does. And this commitment to health can make all the difference. Stay connected to loved ones. Make a habit of calling someone you care about each week. Regular check-ins create lasting bonds, and people will often reciprocate, so you'll never feel alone. Number 5, don't forget to laugh. Sometimes we take ourselves too seriously. I told myself, next Veterans Day speech that I do is going to be more comedic and I'm going to be making people laugh throughout the whole speech. Watch a funny video or a lighthearted show on TV. Make time to laugh because you deserve it. Thank you for your undaunted courage, selfless sacrifices, and unwavering devotion to serving this great nation. And I will end with this line from our anthem that I sing quite often. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? I salute you. Thank you so much. Happy Veterans Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Reyes. Your service to our nation, dedication to your fellow service members, and to America's veterans is truly admirable. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We will now enjoy a performance of God Bless America by the C.W.Y Christian School Choir. Thank you. Next, the Keswick Christian School Band will play the Armed Forces Medley. If you are active duty, guard, reservist, veteran, or the loved one of someone who has served, you may stand if able when the song for your military branch is played. Please enjoy the music. We will now prepare to close the ceremony. Please welcome Chaplain Sanin back to the podium for the benediction. Please stand if able.
The benediction. May God bless you and keep you and grant you peace. May God's wisdom guide you, and may his spirit empowers you. May you find strength in every trial, hope in every sorrow, and joy in each new day. Go now with hearts filled with grace, minds attuned to his truth, and lives that reflect God's light in the world. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen.
Thank you. Please be seated. As we close today's ceremony, I'd like to draw your attention to the back of the courtyard. There, we have dedicated staff from several of our VA services waiting to assist you with getting connected to the care that you've earned and deserve. Again, thank you for joining us today to celebrate our nation's heroes. We owe a lasting tribute to these courageous men and women who answered when their country called and made it possible for us to be here today to reflect on America's past, present, and the promise of our future. You are dismissed.